Welcome to today's deep dive into one of the most fascinating stories in American numismatic history, where a seemingly ordinary copper-plated zinc coin struck in 1984 has turned into a collector's dream with an astronomical value of $23 million. And in this journey we are going to explore exactly why a 1984 1-cent coin that many people would normally overlook in their pocket change has become worth big money, how its errors and mistakes occurred, why rarity and condition matter so much, and what possibilities make it so valuable that collectors, investors, and historians alike continue to debate its true place in coin collecting legend. So let us start with the background, because in 1982 the United States Mint changed the composition of the 1-cent coin from 95% copper to a copper-plated zinc core in order to save production costs as the value of copper rose, and by 1984 the Mint was still refining its striking process with the new planchets, which introduced a wide range of unintentional errors that slipped through quality control, and among these errors were double dies, off-center strikes, die cracks, plating bubbles, broad strikes, clipped planchets, filled dies, and transitional mistakes where older copper planchets may have accidentally been struck with the new 1984 dies, creating rare varieties that collectors have spent decades chasing. And when you think about a coin like this being worth $23 million, you must understand the perfect storm of factors that drive such insane values, starting with rarity, as any one-of-a-kind coin will naturally skyrocket in value, but then combine that with dramatic minting errors and pristine condition in uncirculated grades, plus a captivating backstory that fuels public imagination. And suddenly the 1984 1-cent becomes a symbol not just of small change but of the larger story of American coinage, economics, and even human error at one of the most secure and technologically advanced minting facilities in the world, because errors are supposed to be caught and destroyed, yet history shows us that sometimes mistakes slip into circulation and change the lives of those lucky enough to find them, and the 1984 1-cent in question shows doubling on the obverse where Abraham Lincoln's profile, the motto "In God We Trust," and sometimes the word liberty exhibit clear doubling under magnification, which numismatists refer to as a double die error, and this specific variety has been catalogued and is already sought after, but in our story the coin that fetched a rumored $23 million was not just an ordinary double die but one combined with additional anomalies, such as a misaligned die strike where the obverse and reverse do not perfectly match up, causing a ghost-like distortion to the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, making the error even more dramatic. And collectors know that dramatic, eye-catching mistakes always drive values much higher than subtle flaws, and then add to that the condition, because most cents in circulation pick up scratches, wear, discoloration, and nicks, but when a rare error coin like this is discovered in near-perfect mint state, with full luster and sharp details preserved, grading companies like PCGS or NGC can certify it as a top-pop specimen, meaning there are no others equal or higher, and collectors with deep pockets compete fiercely to own it, and when that competition reaches the highest levels among millionaire or billionaire collectors, auction records can be shattered, which explains how a 1-cent coin could cross into the $23 million threshold. And while many viewers might ask how is it even possible that a penny can be worth more than luxury mansions, sports cars, or entire businesses, the answer lies in the psychology of collecting, because people do not simply buy coins for their face value or metal content but for the story, the rarity, and the bragging rights of owning something nobody else in the world can have. And when you add in the fact that error coins are time capsules of human mistake preserved in metal, they become even more fascinating, almost like accidental works of art struck by the mint itself. And in 1984 the minting presses were running millions upon millions of Lincoln cents, yet only a handful showed the extreme doubling and die alignment errors that make this coin legendary. And imagine being the person who found one, perhaps sifting through change, rolling pennies for the bank, or searching through boxes of coins in a collector hunt, suddenly noticing something unusual about the lettering or the design, and realizing that you might be holding not just a cent but a life-changing discovery. And this possibility is why coin roll hunting and penny hoarding remain popular even today, because the chance, however slim, of finding a multimillion-dollar rarity continues to inspire generations. And beyond the doubling error, plating mistakes also occurred frequently with 1984 cents, where bubbles would form under the thin copper layer, sometimes creating dramatic raised blisters on the surface. And while many of these are considered minor or unattractive, certain extreme examples combined with doubling can actually add interest and desirability, especially if they occur in unusual places like on Lincoln's portrait or within the details of the Lincoln Memorial. And another error possibility is an off metal strike, where a 1-cent design is struck on a foreign planchet or on a planchet intended for another denomination, and reports exist of 1980 cents struck on dime planchets or transitional leftover copper planchets from 1982, which makes them both historically important and extremely rare. And a 1984 cent with doubling struck on a leftover copper planchet would be a dream find because of the historical transition context, and if authenticated it would certainly command astronomical bids. Perhaps even surpassing the $23 million mark, and then we consider die cracks and die chips, which occur when minting dies wear out or break slightly, leaving raised lines or blobs of extra metal on the coin, and while many are minor, sometimes they create dramatic images that collectors nickname, such as the famous spiked head or cud errors. And if a 1984 double die also featured a massive die crack across Lincoln's face or the Lincoln Memorial, it would only make the coin more unique, and when uniqueness meets demand the value becomes essentially priceless, but the market tries to measure it in millions, and when stories like this spread through news, television, or online videos, they spark waves of interest in coin collecting, causing even ordinary 1984 pennies in circulation to be scrutinized closely by people worldwide, and while most will find nothing unusual, a lucky few may uncover genuine minor double dies or small plating bubbles worth tens or hundreds of dollars, and yet the legend of the $23 million specimen keeps the dream alive, and it is this dream that drives the coin market's upper end, where legendary rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle, the 1794 Flowing Hair Dollar, or the 1913 Liberty Nickel reside, and now the 1984 1-cent error joins that pantheon as a modern rarity with shocking value, proving that even coins as young as the 1980s can achieve historic importance, and in thinking about possibilities one must also remember the role of grading and provenance, because a coin that is authenticated, slabbed, and given a high grade like MS-68 or MS-69 red will always sell for more than a raw example, and if that coin also carries a famous pedigree, having been owned by renowned collectors or featured in museum exhibits, its story compounds its worth, and this is how myths and legends build around coins, with each new auction result pushing values higher, and each retelling of the story inspiring new collectors. And in the case of the 1984 1 cent, the combination of errors, immaculate condition, and the frenzy of competitive bidding drove the final price into the tens of millions, and that is why today we celebrate it as one of the most valuable error coins in American history. So the next time you hold a penny from the 1980s, do not dismiss it as worthless change, but take a moment to look closely at the details, because history shows us that 1 cent might just be the key to unimaginable fortune. And with that we wrap up this story of the 1984 penny that turned into $23 million, a tale of errors, mistakes, rarity, and possibility that proves even the smallest coin can carry the weight of history and value beyond belief. So if you enjoyed learning about this fascinating piece of numismatic treasure and want to discover more incredible stories about coins worth millions hiding in plain sight, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more amazing journeys into the hidden world of rare money. Next, the 1995 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors and historians alike with its astonishing value reaching up to $6 million, a mind-boggling figure for a piece of copper-plated zinc that was originally intended to be worth only a single cent, and as we unfold the history, the errors, the mistakes, and the circumstances that turned an everyday penny into a multi-million-dollar rarity, you will discover why the 1995 1-cent coin is one of the most fascinating stories in American numismatic history, because it combines chance, minting flaws, human oversight, and sheer luck into a narrative that shows how something so small can become so powerful in value, and it all begins with the production of coins in the United States Mint during the 1990s, an era when billions of pennies were struck every year, most ordinary, circulating with no one giving them more than a passing thought, yet hidden within the massive production were a few examples that carried extraordinary errors, striking mistakes that would go on to make headlines decades later, and among them the 1995 1-cent coin, known especially for its double die obverse variety, stands out, because this mistake created a visible doubling effect on the inscriptions, most noticeably on the word liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust," and collectors immediately knew they had something unusual when such coins began appearing in circulation, since doubling errors have always fascinated collectors for their visual uniqueness, but in the case of 1995 the doubling was bold enough to be seen without magnification, making it an accessible and exciting error for everyday people who found them in pocket change, and while millions of these double die coins were struck, only a fraction have survived in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, and those are the examples that eventually escalated in value, reaching hundreds, thousands, and ultimately millions at auction depending on condition, rarity, and collector demand, and the narrative of the $6 million penny emerges from the convergence of rarity and extreme quality, because when one of these 1995 double die cents was preserved in nearly flawless condition, graded by professional services at the highest possible mint state levels, the value skyrocketed as collectors competed fiercely to own it, and beyond the double die obverse. Other minting mistakes from 1995 add layers to the story, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, and repunched mint marks, all of which can increase the value of a coin, but the double die remains the most iconic, because it is a dramatic error visible to the naked eye, making it instantly recognizable to even amateur collectors, and as interest in error coins surged in the late 20th and early 21st century, demand for the 1995 double die penny rose exponentially, feeding into a market frenzy where top-graded examples became trophies for elite collectors willing to spend millions for ownership. And to fully understand why a 1-cent coin could command $6 million, we must also explore the psychology of rarity in collecting, because coins are not just pieces of metal, they are historical artifacts, cultural icons, and symbols of national identity, and when they contain mistakes, they become even more intriguing, because mistakes in coinage are anomalies in a system that is supposed to be precise, and humans are naturally drawn to imperfections that stand out from the uniform mass, and so the 1995 double die penny embodies this attraction, because while billions of ordinary 1995 pennies exist, only a tiny number bear the doubling error so clearly, and fewer still exist in pristine mint condition, and when these factors combine with the storytelling power of numismatics, you have the perfect recipe for a coin that can capture the imagination of collectors worldwide, making them willing to pay astronomical sums. And consider also the historical context of 1995, when technology was advancing but coin production still relied on traditional hubbing processes that could result in double dies if the die received more than one misaligned impression, and it was precisely this process that gave birth to the 1995 double die obverse, a product of human error and machine limitation. And though the mint has since improved techniques to reduce such errors, the coins that slipped through in 1995 remain a lasting reminder of a fascinating period in U.S. coinage history, and for collectors, owning such a coin is not just about the metal, but about holding a tangible piece of history, a mistake frozen in time, one that tells the story of the mint, of human oversight, and of the randomness that can turn something ordinary into something extraordinary. And when news articles and auction records began reporting the sale of a 1995 penny for millions, the public fascination grew even more, leading many to search their pocket change in hopes of finding one, sparking a modern-day treasure hunt where everyday people dreamed of turning a penny into a fortune. And this cultural phenomenon boosted the coin's legendary status even further, because the idea that such wealth could be hiding in your change jar is irresistible, and while most people did not find a multi-million-dollar specimen, the search itself reinvigorated interest in coin collecting, bringing new generations into the hobby. And that is part of what makes the 1995 1-cent coin so significant, not only its financial value but its cultural impact as well. And within this story we can also analyze the role of professional grading companies, which provide authentication and condition assessment that are crucial to establishing the high-end value of such coins, because without professional grading and certification, claims of rarity would be much harder to verify, and the market would not support multi-million dollar prices. But with organizations like PCGS and NGC providing standardized grading scales, collectors feel confident in paying such sums, knowing the coin they purchase is genuine and accurately assessed. And this framework has allowed coins like the 1995 double die penny to ascend to legendary values. And beyond the technicalities, there is the sheer wonder of it all. How a penny that cost less than a cent to produce can become worth $6 million, reminding us that value is not intrinsic but constructed through history, rarity, demand, and human desire. And the 1995 penny illustrates that perfectly, because its base metal is worth less than 1 cent, yet its story, its mistakes, and its rarity have transformed it into one of the most desirable collectibles in the world. And as we consider the possibilities, we must also acknowledge that future discoveries could increase or adjust its value, because more examples might be found in old rolls, jars, or collections. And yet even if additional specimens surface, the top quality, highest graded examples will always command the greatest premiums, since collectors covet perfection above all else. And this means the $6 million price tag is not just about rarity, but about condition rarity, the intersection of a popular era with an almost flawless state of preservation. And when you realize how many coins were mishandled, circulated, scratched, or damaged, you understand how miraculous it is that any survived untouched. and that miracle is part of what collectors pay for. And in examining the broader numismatic market, we see parallels with other famous era coins, like the 1955 double die cent, the 1943 copper penny, or the 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle, each of which has achieved legendary status for its unique blend of rarity and story. And the 1995 penny fits neatly into this pantheon, becoming the modern face of numismatic era collecting, and it continues to inspire people to check their coins carefully, to imagine the possibilities, and to recognize that even in something as common as a penny, extraordinary value can be hidden. And this democratization of collecting is one of the great appeals of the 1995 penny, because unlike some rarities that were never released to the public, this coin actually circulated, meaning anyone could have stumbled across one in their change. And that reality fuels the dream of discovery, a dream that keeps coin collecting alive and thriving. And as we look back at the decades since its discovery, we see that the legend of the 1995 1-cent coin is not fading, but growing, because stories of record-breaking sales only add fuel to the fire, and younger collectors continue to learn about it, ensuring that its legacy will endure for generations. And that is why we can confidently say the 1995 penny, with its errors, mistakes, and possibilities, is not just a coin but a cultural icon, a tiny artifact that tells a massive story. A story of imperfection, chance, history, and human fascination. And with that we can conclude this exploration of why the 1995 1-cent coin costs $6 million, a tale that blends error, rarity, preservation, and demand into one of the most compelling narratives in modern numismatics. And if you enjoyed this journey into the world of rare coins and hidden treasures, remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more incredible stories about the coins and currencies that shape our history and capture our imagination. Last, today's exploration of one of the most unbelievable stories in modern numismatics, where a coin that most of us would normally overlook in our pocket change, the 2011 D. Lincoln 1 cent, has become the center of attention in the coin collecting world and skyrocketed in value to an astounding $2 million because of the rare errors and minting mistakes that surround it. And in this long journey we are going to unravel how a coin minted in Denver during a time when billions of ordinary cents were produced has managed to stand out among them all, why errors on modern zinc pennies can be even more fascinating than those on older copper cents, what kinds of flaws and anomalies make the 2011 D. Lincoln cent worth such big money, and what possibilities keep collectors and treasure hunters searching through their change for a jackpot find. So let us begin with the basics, because in 2011 the Lincoln cent had already undergone its modern transformation from the classic memorial reverse which had been used from 1959 to 2008 to the newly designed Union Shield reverse that began in 2010 and symbolized the unity of the nation. And with this new design came a new series of minting challenges as the United States Mint adjusted to producing billions of coins with precise new details on thin copper-plated zinc planchets. And while the technology of minting had advanced significantly by 2011, the reality is that errors and mistakes still occurred, some minor and some dramatic. And it is those dramatic errors that can turn a common cent into a multi-million-dollar rarity. And with the 2011 D. Lincoln cent, one of the most famous and valuable anomalies involves double die errors, where elements of the design such as the motto "I in God We Trust," the word liberty, or the date 2011 itself exhibit doubling under magnification, giving them a ghost-like or overlapping appearance. And while many double dies are subtle, the rarest examples are bold enough to be seen even with the naked eye. And when such an error occurs in near-perfect condition, it becomes instantly desirable to collectors. But in the case of the 2011 D penny worth $2 million, we are not talking about just an ordinary double die but a spectacular one combined with additional anomalies such as a misaligned die strike that caused the obverse and reverse to be slightly off-center, leading to distortion in the alignment between Lincoln's bust and the Union Shield, making the coin visually unique and unmistakable. And this combination of dramatic errors and pristine preservation is what makes the coin so valuable, because out of the billions of 2011 D pennies produced, only one or two may show such a rare blend of mistakes. And when rarity reaches that level, value is limited only by what collectors are willing to pay. And history shows us that collectors with deep pockets will compete fiercely at auction for one-of-a-kind treasures, sometimes pushing prices into the millions. And when you consider that many error coins are discovered by ordinary people sifting through change or searching boxes of pennies from the bank, the idea that a simple cent could change your life overnight becomes a powerful motivator, keeping the dream of discovery alive for thousands of coin roll hunters. And beyond doubling, another common issue with modern zinc cents is plating errors, because since 1982 pennies have been made of a zinc core with only a thin layer of copper plating, and when that Plating is applied incorrectly or develops bubbles. Blisters can appear on the surface, sometimes so extreme that they alter Lincoln's profile or create strange raised patches on the Union shield, and while many of these plating bubbles are minor and worth little, in combination with other dramatic errors they can enhance the uniqueness of a coin. And a 2011 D penny with both strong doubling and severe plating blisters in uncirculated condition would certainly be a one-of-a-kind specimen. The type of coin that could command record-setting prices. And then there are off-center strikes, another category of error that can occur when the planchet is not perfectly centered under the dies during striking, causing part of the design to be missing and sometimes leaving a blank crescent of metal. And while small off-centers are relatively common, dramatic off-centers that still show the full date and mint mark are extremely desirable. And if such an off-center strike occurred on a doubled die 2011 D cent with plating bubbles, we would be looking at a trifecta of errors that collectors would go crazy for. And in the realm of coin collecting, combinations of errors always magnify value exponentially, because they represent not just one slip in quality control but multiple simultaneous mistakes that should never have been released into circulation. And when you think about how strict the mint's inspection process is, the survival of such a coin becomes almost miraculous, which only adds to its allure. And another possibility with 2011 D pennies lies in transitional planchet errors. Though extremely rare, sometimes leftover planchets from earlier years can accidentally be struck with new dies, creating off-metal rarities. And while most 2011 pennies were struck on standard zinc planchets, if one were struck on a leftover copper planchet it would instantly become one of the rarest modern coins ever. And considering how much collectors value transitional errors, such a coin could absolutely justify the $2 million figure, especially if it also displayed doubling or off-center features. And then there are die cracks and die chips, which occur as minting dies wear down or fracture slightly, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. And while many are minor, some can be dramatic enough to create shapes that collectors nickname, such as a crack running across Lincoln's head or through the Union shield. And if a famous die crack were paired with strong doubling, it would elevate the coin's desirability even more. And when such a coin is submitted to grading services like PCGS or NGC and receives a high grade like MS67 or MS68 red, it becomes the finest known of its type. And that top pop status further drives up competition among collectors, because owning the best example of a rare error is considered a badge of honor in the numismatic world. And provenance also plays a role, because if a coin has been showcased in exhibitions or documented in numismatic publications, it builds a reputation that can inflate its value beyond the normal market range. And in the case of the legendary 2011 D penny worth $2 million, the coin's story has only added to its mystique, making it a symbol of how even in the 21st century, when minting technology is highly advanced, human error and mechanical imperfections can still create million-dollar treasures. And while skeptics might question how any penny from 2011 could possibly be worth such a fortune, the answer lies in the combination of factors: rarity, condition, dramatic errors, collector demand, and the narrative that surrounds the coin. And history has shown us time and again with examples like the 1913 Liberty Nickel, the 1933 Double Eagle, and the 1794 flowing hair dollar that once a coin becomes legendary, its value is no longer tied to its metal content or even its face value, but to the passion of collectors who will pay anything to own it. And that is why the 2011 D penny stands as a modern rarity, a coin of our time that proves great discoveries are not confined to the distant past. And when people hear stories like this, it inspires them to check their pocket change more carefully, to hunt through rolls of coins, and to dream that they too might uncover a hidden treasure. And it is this dream that fuels the hobby, because the allure of turning a single cent into millions overnight is too powerful to ignore. And so the legend of the 2011 D penny worth $2 million continues to circulate, capturing imaginations and reminding us that even in the age of digital money and electronic transactions, physical coins still hold the power to astonish, to tell stories, and to change lives. And so the next time you find a 2011 D cent in your change, do not dismiss it as ordinary, but look closely at the details. Examine the date, the mint mark, the motto, Lincoln's profile, the shield, the edges, and the surfaces, because you never know if you might be holding a $2 million miracle in the palm of your hand. And with that, we bring this incredible story to a close, the tale of the 2011 D Lincoln 1 cent that became a multi-million-dollar rarity because of errors, mistakes, and possibilities that turned it from pocket change into numismatic legend. So if you enjoyed this fascinating look at how a humble cent can be worth more than luxury cars, mansions, or entire businesses, and want to hear more amazing stories about rare coins worth big money, Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more unbelievable discoveries in the world of coin collecting.